Welcome everyone, my name is Miss Gillum and we're going to be talking about absolute value today. If you are in my class, you will be taking notes along with this video, but if you're not, this will be a great video to learn about absolute value or to review absolute value. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's get started with the basic definition of absolute value. So you've probably seen absolute value before. They look very similar to brackets. They are two straight lines around a number. They look just like this. So if I had the number 5, this is what an absolute value sign would look like. So the absolute value of an integer, so remember we talked about integers can be positive or negative whole numbers, and actually the absolute value of any rational number is the distance from 0 on a number line. So they're asking what the absolute value is how far away is a number from 0. And this next step is really, really important. Absolute value is always going to be positive. Because if you think about distance, distance is positive. Even if you're running backwards, it's still positive movement. Doesn't matter which direction you are running. So let's take a look at this, what it actually means when we're talking about numbers. So how do we write absolute value? Well, we write absolute value in the form of two straight lines with a number in the middle. So just like this problem down here where it says, this says the absolute value of -2, we look at how far away -2 is from 0. So here is -2, and it is 1, 2 spaces away from 0. And that doesn't matter if it was a -2 or a +2, it's still 2. So then if we look at the absolute value of 4, which 4 is over here, it is 1, 2, 3, 4 away from 0. Notice that it didn't matter if it was a negative or a positive absolute value, the answer is still positive. Okay, the only exception to that rule is if you can see on this one, when there is a negative on the outside. So I would consider this a multi-step. You would first say, what is the absolute value of -5? So here's -5. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 away from 0. So the absolute value is 5, but then there's also this negative that is on the outside. That's not inside. So that's why this one is considered a -5. And that's only because that negative is on the outside. The actual absolute value of -5 is 5, but with the negative on the outside, that causes it to be a -5. Another pay attention moment is you really have to understand that absolute value is not the same thing as an opposite. So if I said the absolute value of 4, the answer is 4 because absolute value is a distance from 0. It is not the opposite of the number. So please don't get these two things mixed up. They are not the same thing. So one more time, the absolute value means how far a number is away from 0. So if I have the absolute value of -5, the answer would be 5. And if I took the absolute value of 5, the answer would also be 5 because they are both, as you can see, 5 away from 0. They're just in different directions away from 0. So let's do some practice problems. So in question A, it says, what is the absolute value of -4? Well, we know that -4 is 4 away from 0 on the number line. And then for B, the absolute value of +26 is still going to be a +26 because it's 26 away from 0. -18 is 18 away from 0. -3 is 3 away from 0. -44 is 44 away from 0. And 65 is 65 away from 0. So when you're finding absolute value, notice every single one of those answers was positive. So now we're comparing two different ones. So what I suggest when you have absolute value and you're comparing is write the absolute values and then compare. So the absolute value of -4 is 4, and the absolute value of negative 5 is 5. So the 5 is greater than the 4. The absolute value of 29 is 29. The absolute value of negative 29 is 29. So these two are actually equal to one another. Notice we are not saying that negative 29 and 29 are equal. We're saying the absolute value is. Try the next two, pause the video, and answer them. And then when you come back, check your answers. So for L, we would say 17 would stand because there's no absolute value, but the absolute value of negative 17 is 17. So these are also equivalent. And the absolute value of negative 59 is positive 59, so this would be greater than the 58. One last summary real quick over what is absolute value. So absolute value is the distance from 0, and absolute value is always positive. Great job today, everyone. If you're in my class, you have a quizzes that follows this video. If you have any questions, please let me know.